Drama Dreamers. This has been N and Admin R. We're doing the podcast for episodes of the Cupid no Itazura J-drama. We are coming back after doing the other episodes. We have episode 4, 5, and 6, now 7, and 10 and 11 on the podcast. And the other episodes, we have episode 1, 2, and 3, and episode 7 or episode 8 and 9 written up on our blog. So how are you doing tonight, R?
I'm good. Just enjoying chatting about this drama. Lots to talk about, interestingly. Which is, we can't always say for all the dramas we do. Sometimes we're just like, yeah, I thought this, that, and the other, and it's like, oh, that's only 10 minutes. We need to talk about more stuff. But this one I think is a good conversation starter, or it lends itself to some interesting conversation.
It also is one that I think almost everybody unanimously really enjoyed. That seems to be a common thread with us as a group. Like that, we either, it's very rare that, you know, just one of us hates a drama that everybody else loves. And after this, the last drama spotlight that we did, this was a nice reprieve, a very, very nice reprieve after that Leghorn.
Yeah, the one so we went from one we all hated to the one we all liked. But yeah, so let's see, episode 7 of Cupid no Itazura. Let's see. A lot has happened for the characters in this one, actually, up until this point. Last time you heard from us too was actually episode 4, and then there were M and Admin Y for episodes 5 and 6. So, in the meantime, for our characters, Muchan and Reiko have worked out whatever issue. Well, they haven't worked out all of their issues, but they've glossed over enough of their issues that they can move forward to having sex. And so they plan a whole weekend getaway thing at the end of last episode. And so the beginning of this episode starts off with them, you know, on their getaway. And they finally seal the deal. And he finally has sex with another person for the first time. Episode 7 with Reiko. Which, yeah. Again, I feel like we're far enough into the story. We're at episode 7 that I can finally really, really talk about how uncomfortable I am with all of the sex in the story. Somehow a story about a dude wanting to have sex desperately and masturbating has managed to make all the sex feel slightly bleak and emotionless and damaging rather than fun. Which is, I think, on purpose. It's not like an accident. It's not like they meant it to be sexy, but it came off kind of weird. Like, I think the story intentionally is making all of this sex feel uncomfortable to watch. Like, because they're highlighting the emotions that is going on in the sexual scenes. Or the negative emotions, I mean. The story is highlighting it quite clearly. So I think it's quite on purpose. It's not like a fluke. But I think it's an interesting commentary on what the story is trying to tell. Because this is the scene where, okay, he finally has sex for the first time. It's supposed to be, oh, finally, or, oh, great, you know, you made it. And he's supposedly having sex with a girl he really likes. And he's supposedly she is also really likes him. And it's also her first time. She's a virgin too. So you're supposed to think, oh, this is great. or you know, like they like each other and they're having sex. This is nice, but you don't. And it's not even really because, like, this is coming from me. It's not because I want him with the other girl. That's not the reason I don't like this sex. Trust me, that's not it. It's definitely contained completely within these two characters because their relationship at this point feels uncomfortable to me. So when I watch them have sex, it feel like, oh, it's a celebration of a really great relationship. Or even like, it's not even like a sex. This is a sex between two people who seem like they're working out together right now. It feels like sex between two people who don't really like each other or don't really know what they want. And so or who might have some kind of ulterior motive. Because he hasn't, it also makes me, okay, from his side, it makes me really uncomfortable that he hasn't told her about his disease yet. And he's having sex with her. And I'm really uncomfortable with that. Especially in this scene because he loses one of his balls, or his like colored ball, whatever, his rainbow balls, in inside of her or whatever. Or it's not inside of her, but while he's having sex with her, one of them like comes out after he finishes, he ejaculates.
That was a bad pun. That was a bad pun.
Yeah, like, sorry. Yeah. He, like, so it's like, so what would have happened if this had been inside of her? Like, this is the thing that I'm thinking about. Like, it makes me really uncomfortable that you are having sex with this woman and not telling her about your disease, where basically marbles come out of you when you ejaculate. What?
What if it damaged her, in some, like, what if it, I mean, clearly it's strong enough to clink against a window, so what makes me believe that it's not strong enough to do some damage to her insides at some point?
Right? And what does it mean for you to be having sex with this girl when you have a sexual disease? You don't have a disease that's like, oh, I don't know, like, what other disease? You don't have liver disease or like, something else. You have a literal disease that's about sex. And you're having sex with some girl and you haven't told her that. And that makes me so uncomfortable.
I agree.
Yeah. So this sex scene is like, and then also, I mean, whatever. Like the way his technique is obviously going to be shit because he's never had sex before. So I don't have a problem really with that kind of, the way they played that out, because that felt very natural to me. Because but also again, then it's like one of those things where the sex felt much too much about him and not enough about both of them.
I agree with that.
And it was like an extension of the argument that they had in episode 4, which we talked about earlier, where like she was uncomfortable and crying during the whole attempted sex in the car. That felt very rapey to me. And she wanted to keep going because of him, not because of her. So it's like the repeat of the same thing here, except they actually do have sex. And it feels like it's about him, not about both of them. And that makes me uncomfortable. So it's like I feel like I don't want them together. I don't want them together. I don't want them in a romantic relationship because I feel like neither one of them are really admitting to themselves why they want to be in this relationship. I think they're in it for the wrong reasons. So, yeah. So, anyway, that's all I really have to say about that sex scene in particular. The reason that the marble comes out or whatever on the tatami mat is that there's a hole in the condom that he used. So
he probably shot the hole
with the
into the condom,
right?
like,
yeah, probably with the marble. So
Trajectory bowl.
projectile colored rainbow bowl disease thing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Anyway, so now we have pregnancy scare. Because, I mean, that's all it takes. All it takes is one time, having unprotected sex, and you could possibly get pregnant. It can happen. So now we have that on the table.
If you're having sex, doesn't matter if you're on birth control. It doesn't matter if you think you're being safe. It doesn't matter if he pulls out. Use a condom, because you can get an STD or you can get pregnant. It doesn't matter how many times you have to have sex.
Yep.
Condom. Keep yourself safe. Keep yourself healthy, and preferably get tested before you sleep with somebody. If not, still use the condom.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I had to just do a little. Had to do a little PSA, since this is discussing sexual content. We need to be, and we know that we have underage followers that listen to these. Yeah. So, you know, if we're going to discuss the sexual matter,
yeah.
What'd you say, Ray?
I say, gotta let you guys know, that's the reality. You could get pregnant, you could get STD off having sex, and it's unprotected, and when we say protected, we mean condom. Which, oh, another PSA. If anybody ever tells you that a condom is too small, they lying. They lying. A condom can stretch to up to like 20 times its original size. They lying.
And it's also best that if you are going out and you think you might have sex, carry your own condoms with you. That way you know that they are not old. You know that they are not pierced or anything. Put them in a safe pocket so that you know what is going inside of you, because a man may carry a condom, but it can have a hole in it. He could have purposely put a hole in it. You never know what a one night. You never know what a one night stand can be doing. There was a story that went around. Yep, like I'm allergic to latex. I can't use latex condoms. So there you go. And they also have female condoms. So if you are uncomfortable with a man and a condom, they make them for us too, ladies. You just got to ask your local health department.
Anyway, into that PSA. I mean, this drama is basically a chronicle of how not to have sex with people.
I agree. Exactly.
You can see a list of things you shouldn't do in a sexual relationship. You probably find them in this drama. Yeah, so anyway, they have sex and the condom breaks, which happens, by the way. And so, you know, pregnancy scare. But that doesn't come up until, well, I mean, I guess it comes up immediately, but you don't really discuss it much until later. Because after that, it switches to Asami. Asami and the doctor talking about Asami's feelings. Which I still find it interesting. She's like, the doctor is super creepy, but she does take the time to talk to Asami about what she's feeling in regards to Muchan. And so, like, which I can appreciate, because Asami doesn't really, like, her coworker, her coworker is her only real female friend. And I feel like she's not open with her coworker, probably because she's her coworker. So having this doctor who, one, is a doctor, two, understands the situation because she's the doctor for Muchan. And so she's able, and she's a doctor who they've never met before. Like, they don't know anything. You know, like, so, like, she's, like, almost like a third party. So she's able to talk, I think, much more freely with the doctor than with her coworker or her other friend, who's their middle school friend, school friend. So I really do like their scenes together, even though the doctor still continues to be creepy even during these scenes. um, but it's okay, it's okay. So Asami finally admits that she likes him and that she is not okay with Muchan being with Reiko that weekend and having sex with Reiko. And so she finally breaks down and is crying about it with the doctor. And of course, that's when the wife, her boyfriend's wife, comes in and is spying on her. Like, legit. I just find that hilarious. I'm sorry. I find it really hilarious that this lady is is personally investigating this girl.
She's a super sleuth.
She's following this girl. She's sitting on the table, above them, watching and listening to the conversation. Oh my goodness! Like that's what you should do, lady. Like this is clearly your job that you should do. You should be a private investigator because you're good at this. But while she's sleuthing, she of course she's eavesdropping, so she only eavesdrops on some of the conversation, and of course half the conversation is unspoken because the doctor and Asami both know everything that has to do with Muchan and his disease. But the wife doesn't understand that, so all she hears is that the person Asami is crying over that she likes has a disease, the rainbow ball disease. And she assumes that Asami is crying over her husband because the way the language was very vague, when they were talking. So this is where we're getting here, is that the wife goes home thinking that her husband has some kind of disease and he's hiding it from her. But he told his mistress, which I'm sure makes her both doubly jealous and concerned for her husband. And angry that he's not telling her anything, which of course leads to their confrontation later.
This woman, in the sense that I understand where, like the wife, I understand where she's coming from, being angry and hurt that her husband's doing this. Mm-hmm. I also don't understand her obsession with making Asami's life hell. It takes two to have an affair, and she hasn't had her husband, held accountable for any of his actions at all. She's just making Asami pay everything, pay for everything.
Mm-hmm. Like Asami, yeah.
And by this point, Asami even says that whenever she first started dating, the guy, she didn't know he was married. It wasn't until 8 weeks later that she found out. And granted, she is guilty as sin for, keep up the relationship after knowing that he was married. I'm not saying that she's not wrong. I'm just saying that it's wrong for the wife to be constantly going after Asami whenever she's not the only guilty party.
And it's like I can understand to a point, but she is basically stalking this girl. And she's like,
after she tried to burn her hand off.
She broke into her house, assaulted her, tried to burn her hand on this pot. Ugh. Then she and then now she's following her around. She's stalking this chick. And I draw the line at that. First of all, that's a bit psycho. Like, girl. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. Like, you confronting her, and I could even understand y'all getting into a physical fight. To an extent. Even though I still think, I agree, I feel like you need to be also directing a lot more of your anger towards your husband. But she's coming at it from a, you seduced my husband point of view. Like somehow the fault is all Asami's, and it's not her cheating husband's. or it's not as much her cheating husband. Like somehow if she just gets rid of Asami, her marriage will be fine. But it's like, no, sweetheart, it's not really how it's going to go. Getting rid of Asami is not going to fix the problem. The problem is your husband. So, yeah.
I think my Hangout just unfortunately stopped on my phone, so I'm probably going to get dropped.
Okay. Well, yeah, M dropped out. So I'll just keep talking. But yeah, so she overhears this thing, and I'm skipping a little bit, but later in the episode she confronts her husband. First about the hotel stay, because she followed them to the hotel and everything like that. Then she confronts her husband, and she's upset about that, and she does it in a very sinister way. I mean, it's like seriously like Alfred Hitchcock kind of confrontation, where they have like the sinister angles where she looks like a serial killer and he's looking afraid and stuff like that. Like, but it's supposed to really highlight her emotional state and his lying, him being a straight up liar, because he looks her dead in the eye and says, "You're crazy. There's nothing going on." And like, it's just such a blow to her, because she knows this is not something where she's suspicious of him because he comes home late from work. This is something where she knows he's cheating. She knows it. She's seen it. Like, she's talked to the woman that he's cheating with. So to have him look her dead in the eye and say that you're out of your mind, you're irrational, I think angers her even more. And it's like you're seeing all of her pent up anger just build up. And they highlight it with these like creepy ass serial killer angles for her. And music that's very sinister. Like, he's such a piece of shit. It's like, I don't even necessarily like this wife, but I can understand her. I can sympathize with her. So when he's like trying so hard to make it seem like she's the one who's crazy, that nothing is happening, that she's being irrational, is just enraging to me. Even if I don't approve of her and what she's doing with Asami, I definitely approve of her confronting her husband about what he's doing. And then she, but of course she has the misunderstanding that he's sick. So she confronts him about that too. And she's upset and crying about it because she thinks that he's hiding his medical, condition from her and telling his mistress, and and I'm sure, she still loves him. So a good portion of her frustration and her tears is because she's wondering if this disease serious? Is it fatal? My husband is sick and he's not telling me what's wrong. And so she has a lot of complex emotions that I think are very interesting. And I think, in a lot of ways, I won't say that she's necessarily the most complex character, but for a character who seemingly, when you start off the story, she's a side character. Like, she's not one of the main characters. She's not, she's, in the beginning, she barely has any screen time. But for the time that you see her, her actual emotions are explored in a way that is like a main character. And so she is elevated up to that level, I think, as the story continues. So that by here, episode 7, we understand this woman. Even if we don't always approve of what she's doing, we understand why she's doing it. And I think this writer gave the wife a lot of very interesting emotions that obviously are stemming from her status as a stay-at-home mom with a newborn that's frustrating. It's interesting seeing that they're frustrated with having to take care of a newborn who's crying all the time and stuff like that. And with a husband who doesn't love her, doesn't care for her, is cheating, like doesn't pay her any attention, and she's angry and she's frustrated and she's hurt. And she's taking her anger out on Asami. And she's like, and she keeps repeating, I think it's interesting that she keeps repeating about how they have a child together. They have a child. We have a child together. We have a child, And it's like she's trying to use the child to salvage her marriage. Like she knows it's messed up. She knows that her marriage is wrong, and it's been wrong for a long time. But she was hoping that the fact that they have a child together would be the thing to save them. And it's not. It's not enough. And I get that vibe that that's how their relationship was before they started. Before they started the series, before you see them in the series, that it started off with them clearly already in a rocky relationship, and she's trying to use the fact that they have a child together to heal it instead of actually tackling the real problem with their relationship, which is, her husband's a ungrateful piece of shit. And he's cheating on her, and she's unhappy.
Oh, no,
Right.
I was on mute the whole time, and I was sitting here talking. I was like, "Can you hear me?" I was like, "Oh wait, I'm on mute." And I was trying to say that that whole, like, my relationship's not going well, so I'm going to have a baby, is something that a lot of people do, and they don't take into account that having a newborn is one of the most stressful things you will ever live through in your life. Believe me. I can attest to this. Having a newborn is one of the most stressful things in your life because you don't sleep. You have another human being puking, crapping, and spitting on you. You've got liquid coming from your body. Normal for being a new mother. You've got, liquids coming from your body that you are just like, oh my God, what the heck is this? And then on top of it, you don't feel sexy. You don't want your husband or your spouse or your partner or whatever to even touch you because of the fact that you gave birth to an infant that is leaving you so exhausted. And so here you are pouring all of yourself into another human being, and your partner goes out and cheats on you. That is just like the biggest, in my opinion, it's the biggest slap in the face. Because that's just one of the most hurtful things. So I understand where she's coming from, but some of the things that she does are just not okay.
Yeah, it's like you didn't spend the emotions with the actions she does with it.
I can honestly understand her, and I can be empathetic to her, but still, no, empathetic meaning I've been there.
I thought you said apathetic. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, I got
empathetic.
I got you.
I've been there. I know what she's feeling. I can honestly say that, that has happened. But that wouldn't make it right for me to go out and stalk the other woman and make her life a hell, or try to burn her in the hand. I mean, I can understand the wanting to do it,
but
or wishing,
doing it.
But actually doing it is like that line that just can't be crossed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, if a guy cheats on you, you can wish, karma makes his man bits curl up and die and fall off, but, it's not going to happen. You can wish and hope and, quote unquote curse someone all day long, but You shouldn't act on any of those desires or those curses.
Yeah, because then you're a criminal. Okay?
Yes.
It's called assault. And attempted murder. This is another PSA. If you find out your significant other is cheating and you want to kill that bitch, don't do it. It's murder. Oh. But anyway. So yeah, so she has her meltdown. Well, no, she doesn't really have a meltdown. She has her pre-meltdown when she finally confronts him, and he's still, well, see, the second time when she confronts him about the disease, he don't know what the hell she's talking about. So he's legitimately confused on that one. But it does.
That part made me.
Say it again.
That part made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
Because he's looking at like, what the hell are you talking about, lady? Like, have you lost all of your marbles?
That was it's funny with this story. I
can't right now, Raven.
I swear to God, I spent the whole story wanting to do that pun. Has Mushan lost all his marbles yet? I just wanted to do it. Oh my God. Yo. Not kidding. That pun needs to happen.
That pun right there is as bad as the one that I made during In the Realm of the Senses. He's not whenever I said he's not pussyfooting around.
Oh my God. Yeah. That was a good one.
Now that we died a little.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so that was the only time that I was actually, well, I won't say I was on his side, but I just, yeah, she had jumped to conclusions as she is wont to do, because she's very emotional about about what's going on. I mean, she's understandably emotional about this, but in this instance, she was wrong. But what she does after this is just like, is that in the next episode? It might be in the next episode. Cause,
I think that's in the next episode
yeah, okay.
Touching on.
Yeah, but after a continued conversation, she realizes that he's not the one who has the rainbow ball disease or whatever. So now she's curious about who in the world Asami was crying over in the bar, if it wasn't her husband. And so that leads into the next episode. So we'll leave it there for somebody else to discuss.
Oh, write up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're gonna write. Yeah. It's a write up episode. But enough about the husband and the wife. Back to Asami, because Asami, again, like the last time we talked about her is that she was crying in the bar over Reiko and Muchan finally doing the deed, as it were. And so it's super, so she gets drunk, obviously, she gets fucked up. And then the next day they have like an engagement party for another of their friends, or their upperclassmen in their school. And he's getting engaged to some chick, whatever. And so everybody gets invited. And so Muchan, Asami, Reiko, and the other guy. Oh my God, what is this? Gonna be bothered.
I don't know what his name. His name escaped.
Yeah. Say it again?
His name has escaped me the whole time.
Yeah. Show. Whatever. Whatever. The other guy, the friend, the middle school friend, they all get invited. And so enter, awkward turtle evening where basically, oh, he's also like, because he's super into Asami, but he's never said anything about it. And so he keeps assuming that Asami and Muchan are going to get together or already together. So he's spending, like, he keeps doing all this misinformation all around that they're dating. Because he's jealous and he's feeling some kind of way about it. About the fact that they're obviously closer to each other than either one of them are with him. She comes over to that dude, to Muchan's house, and hangs with his father and cooks them dinner and stuff.
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about that for a minute? Mm-hmm. Because if my partner had, a friend of the opposite sex coming over and cooking dinner and building up rapport with the family,
yeah,
I think that, as the partner, I would probably put a stop to that. That's making me uncomfortable. Whether there's something going on, I think that there's a part of me that, I mean, especially if we discuss being, completely monogamous as opposed to being plural or poly or whatever you want to, have in your relationship.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tricky one, though, because it's one of those situations where that is something, see, and this is a conundrum, because that is clearly something that has been happening for almost a decade. Whereas it's not new. Whereas I'm new. I'm new to this romantic relationship with you. And that'd be a problem, I think. Because it'd be me saying, I don't want you and your childhood friend to do all the friendly things that you've been doing up until then. But at the same time, it doesn't strike as friendly because it seems like a little bit more than friendly, which is obviously where all of these assumptions is coming from, that everybody is assuming that they're going to end up together.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's where communication is so important, because if your partner is doing something, like, say for example, just prime example, hypothetically, if you and I were, in a relationship and you had a friend who was crossing that line, I'd be like, hey, Raven, this is, you and I said that we were going to be monogamous, and I feel like this friend is crossing the line. What can we do to keep your friendship intact, but still have your friend back off a little bit while you and I are getting to know each other and building a stronger relationship with us? Mm-hmm. That would be how I would personally have handled it.
Yeah, and then we had to sit down and talk about, what each of us would be comfortable with. Yeah, you're right. That's like definitely a communication thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which
there is no communication from these couples.
Nope.
Not a one of them. Well, not a one of them.
Especially not Reiko and Muchan.
Oh,
like their whole issue is the fact that they don't really talk to each other about what they're feeling. Like literally every argument or every hiccup in their relationship has to do with the fact that they don't tell each other something. Like communication is literally the one thing about why they don't really go together well, because they just are refusing to communicate with each other.
There's a part of me that questions, though, is that lack of communication because she's super young and he is immature, or is that, and it's because their first relationship and they're still kind of like bumbling with it? Is it because it's just she doesn't care enough to communicate with him? I mean, I'm trying to figure out what exactly the reason behind their lack of communication is.
I think the story is presenting it that way, that it's because she's young, he's young-minded when it comes to relationships. It's both of their first relationship. And honestly, it's not a mark against him, but he's in an awkward situation because he's both mature and immature. And this disease is speeding up his process even more. It's making him hurry even more. So, like, I think it's, like, awkward for him to be this old and unable to communicate properly. But at the same time, it's understandable because this is his first relationship. Ugh. So it's like, I can't be angry at him, but at the same time, I'm like, man, like, I can forgive the 19-year-old for not knowing the fuck she's doing. But you're in your mid to late 20s, man. This is the time where you start to figure out what you want and communicate that to your partner. And
I kind of feel like that age gap for me personally kind of annoyed me, honestly.
Yeah.
She is still so young. And is so clueless, and he is still clueless.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I don't know how it's like a kindergartner teaching other kindergartners, you know, algebraic equations. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
That's probably
it really highlighted me. Yeah. Well, it's okay. And it was really highlighted in this episode though, when her father is scolding her, they're having an argument in the office about her phone, and he's all, "Who's calling you?" And she's like, "It's a friend." And it's such a teenage girl kind of argument, you know?
Exactly.
And it just feels like she is not ready to be in a serious, legitimate relationship. The kind of relationship he's thinking about. Because he's got the whole pregnancy scare thing going on. So in his mind, he's coming at, maybe we should get married.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about our future. You know, I want to take care of this child together. I'm going to work to get this company, my father's company, up and running so that I can provide a future for us and our family. Like, that's where he's coming from. And she's over here having an argument with her dad about who's calling her on her cell phone. And that's where we are with their relationship. That's their relationship in a nutshell. And I feel like that gap in responsibility and in maturity is definitely a hindrance. But yeah, so I definitely agree with you, Em, about that. Let me see. Yeah,
This episode kind of felt like a filler episode to me.
It felt like what?
Do you agree?
It felt like what?
A filler episode. A filler?
Yeah, because basically half the episode took place at that engagement party, and the other half, you know, was in like the married couple's house. And so it did feel a little bit like, I mean, I guess I won't say nothing actively happens in the plot. The only thing that happens is a lot of emotional fallout from what happened before. So it's like this episode was all a reaction episode to a previous episode rather than standalone. Because all it was people and their emotions about what happened in episode 6, not really anything that happened in episode 7 itself. So yeah, maybe that's why it feels more like a filler.
I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't address, you know, all that emotional baggage, but I still feel like there's so much baggage that's left unresolved. I feel like, you know, there's, I don't know, it just feels like there's so, it feels almost like I'm in the middle of a crap storm and don't know how to get out of it. Does that, I don't know if I'm quite conveying that properly. It feels like
Yeah.
It feels like it's incomplete yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess that would really, that that really demonstrates exactly what the characters are feeling, especially
Mm-hmm.
Asami. Like that overwhelming feeling of, because she's at that point where she's admitted to herself that she likes Muchan. She knows that she's in love with Muchan at this point, but she's in pain because she doesn't know what to do about it. She can't tell him because he's in a committed relationship. She can't stay with the other guy because she doesn't love him. He doesn't love her, and she's unhappy with him. And so her emotions are building up, but there's nothing that she can do about them because if she, like it's right. Like even though I don't necessarily like Reiko and Muchan together, it's still inappropriate for Asami to just go and jump into their relationship and be like, I want to be with you, because he's in a legitimate committed relationship. Like regardless of whether or not I think they should be together, they are. So she has to respect that. And I think this whole episode was her dealing with the fact that she is in love with somebody, but she can't do anything about it because it'll be wrong. Which is it's
Very
interesting.
good point. Very good.
Yeah, it's interesting that she's like. I mean, is she learning from the fact that she basically did that with a married man?
I was going to say that shows, in my opinion, character growth on her behalf,
Mm-hmm.
because growing, learning that just because you want to be with somebody, if they are with somebody or with a partner, you can't not interject unless, or get involved in it unless it is something that all of you agree upon, because there's always going to be someone that gets really hurt by those kind of actions.
Mm-hmm.
That person that's really hurt could very easily be you. It doesn't necessarily have to be the other person. Anytime you're the third hand in someone's relationship, somebody's going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like, excuse yeah, I think it does. I think it is supposed to be a point of growth for her, having figured out what she should and should not do when it comes to love, when it comes to loving someone truly. Because can we really call the affection that she had for the married guy of real love if she's willing to compromise her own life and his own in order to have an illicit affair with him? Like, is that really love? Like, if you like, what would be the correct response there? Oh, I fell in love with a married man. Well, the correct response would be there is to back off until he gets a divorce. Honestly, and then see if you can work it out.
Yeah.
Like, be honest. Be honest with him. Like, I think I'm in love with you, but you're in a relationship, so it's obviously not going to work.
Let's a hot man. If you love somebody, there are oftentimes you are going to be blinded by that love.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. In love with somebody that is so bad for you and can do such horrible to you, you can be so blinded to that. Not that they say or do is going to be, necessarily a bad thing.
Which I guess is where the wife's situation is.
I agree with that.
She's in love with her husband, and it's not good. It's a dark kind of messed up love, and he's not good for her. He is not good to her. He is not good for her.
I agree with that. In different types of love that this particular portrays. It doesn't show a lot of dramas that only show like the hearts and flowers and almost quote unquote high school love where they're together and so deeply in love and then they break up and then they're back together again and it's everything perfect. This shows different types of love. It shows healthy. Well, I can't really say that all. That's kind of a dangerous statement I was about to make. It shows that love can be unhealthy. It shows that it can be extremely toxic. And I can honestly say that it doesn't really show any like legitimately healthy forms of love. And I think that that's a brave to venture into.
Yeah.
I almost said it showed healthy love, and then I was like, wait, let me rephrase that because there's nothing in this drama. His inability to be so unaroused, like just this guy. This seems of a sex addict to me to be.
Yeah.
He sees us and he loses the ball just because he's boobs and gets so aroused that it's I don't know. It just that's one area of the story that just personally makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, like he just sees some.
Are you there?
Yeah, so like he just sees some girl on the street or something like that, and I just like he's literally unable to control himself, and like it's a touch of comedy. It's like a point of comedy for the story, is how easily he is aroused and how easily he then loses a ball over it. But at the same time, it's still really like, what in the world, man? Like, as it keeps happening, it just like gets more and more like frustrating. And so, I agree. It is pretty damn uncomfortable. They have zero self-control. Oh man, yeah, their sex scene in this episode was like really indicative of that. Like, he was just so frantic, and I just know it's just like almost zero foreplay. I think he had more foreplay with Asami when they almost had sex. I think they had more foreplay than he had with this chick, Rico. But yeah. This show is doing a really good job in showing all the different kinds of ways you can have a toxic relationship. Even if you don't think it's like toxic, or even if it's not as toxic as, say, the wife and the husband. I think the wife and the husband's relationship is the most toxic. With the husband and Asami being the next one. But just as equally, Reiko and Reiko and Muchan's relationship is toxic as well, which I think maybe people wouldn't understand usually. Like, it wouldn't be presented as that toxic. Maybe it presented as innocent or happy-go-lucky, or maybe it presented as simply, the first love kind of thing. Yeah, immature. But in a lot of ways, the reason that that their relationship is not going to work out is because you can sense that there's something wrong there. That their motivations are wrong, or the way that they're handling their relationship is wrong. So, I think this story does a good chance because I never felt yeah, I know you said you shipped Asami and the other guy, and I could totally see that.
Best friend.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad with her and the other childhood friend. Um, but I thought it did a good job in showing exactly why they shouldn't end up with the people they started off with. Um, because it's like it's not one of those stories where you have people in a relationship and the only reason they break up is because of the other person. We broke up because I fell in love with this other person and I love them more or something like that. Like that's not the reason that they were all breaking up. Asami's breaking up with the other guy because he's married and he doesn't love her and their relationship is not working and it's making her extremely unhappy. That's why they break up. And like her falling in love with Muchan is a thing that is a result of her unhappiness, not the source of her unhappiness, you know. Whereas with Muchan, him and the other girl don't work out. It's not really because of Asami. It's because of their internal conflicts and their differences in not personality but in maturity level. Or rather, they have a very similar maturity level in a lot of ways. Or it's a good point. They have a difference in responsibilities and ideas about responsibilities. And what they really want in their relationship. And that's the reason that they break up. Not really because he felt like, it's not like, oh, he's in a relationship and so he falls in love with Asami and that's why he breaks up with his girlfriend. Like, a lot of dramas will do that. And it always makes me feel, because I'm like, that's not really a real reason. Like, did the love stop? Like, why are they not together anymore? Give me a reason. And I think this story does a good job in giving a reason for why the original couples are not working.
Yeah.
Which I do thank the writer for that, for taking the time to do that.
We talked about, Edmund and I talked about this a little bit in podcast 5, where we discussed Reiko was basically dad's puppet. That she only broke up with Moonshine because her dad didn't like him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting. It's interesting whenever you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Because again, it goes back to the question: did she really ever love him? Was she really when she said "I love you"? Did she really mean it, or was she just being compliant? She doesn't. This character does not. Like, she just does not strike me as the kind of woman that is like, well, I'm not going to do this because I don't want to.
Mm-hmm. Like, she does a script.
Strikes me. Yes.
She's reading off a script. I'm in a relationship,
yes.
So I'm supposed to say I love you. Like, I'm a good daughter, so I should break up with my boyfriend if my father doesn't like him. It's like she knows what is expected of her, and then she does it. Instead of actively doing what she wants, understanding what she wants. And like, so I definitely agree on that.
I'm back. I'm sorry. My phone dropped the call again.
I figured. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like she's reading a script.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else you want to discuss, or do you want to end this podcast, or do you want to do this?
I'm done for this one. I guess the only thing that we should talk about. We should talk a little bit about. So Asami knows what she's feeling, and that she likes him, and that she's. I think she's made the decision to try and distance herself from him, which of course, this is drama land. That's never gonna happen. That's of course when he calls her up and asks her to tutor him in using this computer, because he thinks he has to learn how to use this special metal cutting machine or whatever, in order to
because he does not me, right?
Wait, say again?
He doesn't know that what's face isn't pregnant yet.
Yeah, so he's trying to revamp his father's company in order to be able to provide for her and their child in the future. So he asks Asami to help him with the computer stuff because he knows that she's smart and that she's good at this kind of stuff. And of course that puts her in a quandary because she's knows that she's in love with him and she's trying to distance herself so that she doesn't make the same mistake that she did with the husband guy. But she also likes him and is a good friend and can't really refuse without telling him why. So she agrees to help him. And of course, that is when he gets this phone call from a woman we don't know, we've never met before. But the first thing we see of her is her nicely shaped breasts. And she's, apparently the first time you see her is, first of all, the first thing you see of her is her nakedness on the phone talking to somebody saying, understand, and there's red light, and it's so, they aren't really being subtle with these
she's a call girl.
cues. She's clearly a call girl. She's like, I'll help you. And then the next thing you know, she's calling up Muchan and immediately starts having phone sex with him. Yeah. And she starts masturbating and and he's standing there with Asami behind him wait, what? Confused or whatever. And listening to this woman basically masturbate on the phone with him. And that's how the story. And then at the same time that he's on the phone with the call girl having the phone sex, Asami gets a call from the doctor telling her that that the doctor got a phone call from a woman claiming to know Asami and asking questions about the rainbow ball thing. And so she finds out, of course, that the wife has been investigating Asami and has found out even as much as that she's involved with somebody with this rainbow ball disease. And so that's where we end. 2 phone calls. And that's how the story ends. Which I found that launches us into the next episode, which is interesting in terms of this call girl chick. This is the first bit of nudity in the story, though. I don't think I remember seeing anything else. Maybe a little
first bit. We've seen butt cheeks and we've seen side boobs, and they had the naked chick that was in the opening credits of episode 1.
Oh yeah, the opening credits. That's it.
But first, full front, not full, boobies that we've seen. There we go.
Yeah,
boobies.
Yeah. Episode 7. They were very well shaped. I will admit it. She's a very beautiful woman.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So I guess, in SFW for real on this episode at the end, because you see this chick naked and on the bed masturbating. So don't pop this open during your lunch break. That's all I can say.
We did that before we started.
Just saying.
The image that goes with this podcast has a trigger warning that says Gus's rape and consensual sex. So proceed to watch this on their lunch break after seeing that and after seeing the half-naked, towel-wrapped people on the...
Right, you deserve your boss walking in on you.
Yep.
Alright, yeah, that's all we had to say for about this episode, though. Catch you guys later.
Alrighty, we'll whenever we have the next drama spotlight. Bye.
Bye-bye.